This is a video on how I made the Goblin for my short film Trauma Goblin. You will need polymer clay, latex thickener, latex glue, tinfoil, Sharpie, scissors, multicast powder, hot glue gun, acrylic paint, white, green, red, black. But it's probably cheaper to buy a bunch all at once, so just do that. And you want some eyes to put on the Goblin. I managed to find some in a shop, but if you don't have that, maybe just mould them out of clay as well. That might look fine, I don't really know. Wooden dowels, paintbrushes, a paint tray, see-through string, gloves, wool, ideally black, but if you have a bit of a type, that's fine. The first step for making your Goblin the way I made my Goblin is by using tinfoil, rolling out on a table, and then using your forearm as a measurement essentially, and cutting it off at the end of your knuckle and your wrist, and then sort of halfway down your forearm with a Sharpie. And then use rolled up tinfoil surrounded by polymer clay, because polymer clay supposedly is more malleable than other clay, so you can sort of mould it easier and it won't dry over time, to the size of your knuckle, and then sort of start detailing it. This can take a while because you want to get all the sort of wrinkles out. Luckily for me, making a Goblin, Goblins are wrinkly, it's gross, that's kind of better. So you have to go through all this sort of handy dandy work, really putting your thumbs in the eyes and building that nose. It's quite tedious, but it's also quite a fun thing to do. It's quite therapeutic, I guess. And then the next thing you want to do is make the body, which is also tinfoil, but obviously skinnier than the head because you want a little gross, little lanky Goblin, obviously. And you put the body between the lines that you marked on your forearm to get a reasonable size Goblin. Realistically, you should sculpt the arms out of clay as well and do it all at once at the same time, but I, not so wisely, didn't do that. So I bought some stone mold set of stuff and poured that with some water into a little Halloween bucket, which is just fabulous, and stirred it a little bit and then poured it over the Goblin. You want to pour it over the Goblin in something sort of with raised edges so it doesn't go all over your table. I did mine on the kitchen table, and yeah, it was a full thing, but I was lucky enough to have a tray, so it was cool. Then you'll leave that to set for about 30 minutes, and then that'll come out, and you'll have a sculpt of your Goblin. Then you'll have to dig the Goblin out of, like, the clay part and the tinfoil part out of the stone mold cast, I guess, which is a real faff, to be honest with you, because the tinfoil can sometimes get stuck. So maybe don't use tinfoil. I did. It's sort of dealer's choice. But anyway, you dig that out of the whole, cast mummification process it's got. And then you pull out your latex after obviously emptying out all the stuff and making sure there's no clay in the detail spots, like the ears, the teeth, the mouth, whatever you make with that. Then you put the latex in the cast, which you need to do realistically with a brush, because you want to get a thin layer. You don't want to make like a thick Goblin that can't be moved and it's just sort of there, even though that's kind of how mine turned out, spoilers. So yeah, you get a brush, like a paintbrush, paint it in. If you want to make the process go a little bit quicker, get latex thickener, but for the first coat you really want to use just latex, because it's more detailed for a first layer than obviously latex thickener is sort of thicker. With latex thickener you should use gloves because you'll probably burn your hands. It's quite corrosive, I think. You want to do maybe 6 layers of latex. I think that's what I did before peeling my little ruffian out of his nest, I guess. Unfortunately with mine, the ears came off and some of the teeth got broken, which kind of sucked. So what I did was I bought a hot glue gun, which is even more money, and just basically built up the areas that were broken, which was quite easy to do. I think the glue gun was like a $5 maybe, so it's not too bad, not too drastic. And then yeah, you slap a coat of acrylic paint on that. Acrylic's better for this project specifically because it's sort of like a plasticky paint. You know, you put it on plastic, metal, stuff like that. It's very strong for stuff like that. And you want to do a few coats of that, maybe like 1 or 2 before trying anything else. So when you've done 2 or 3 coats of paint on the Goblin, what I did was I glued the eyes on this puppy, because I bought some latex glue, and I also hot glued it as well, just for extra strength to keep in place, and that worked quite well. The eyes I bought before even making the Goblin, before it was even an idea. I just sort of, you see eyes in the shop and you buy them, you know what I'm saying? Then yeah, you want to glue the eyes in, let them dry, paint around the eyes with green, obviously, kind of maybe go on the eyes a little bit just to sort of get like a nice transition so his eyes aren't bulging, they're just sort of eyelided, kind of. Paint inside the mouth of red. Then you want to start casting the limbs. This took me a long there was probably about a month between making the torso of the Goblin and the limbs, because they were just so fiddly to do and I just couldn't be bothered with it. What you want to do is you want to do the exact same process again on a smaller scale, and just roll like 2 balls for the joints of the thigh, a small bit for the forearm or leg, whatever. This applies to both, really. You want to do a big shoulder socket as well, and then make the feet, down to the toes, hands down to the fingers, whatever. I did this and the legs turned out fine, although I had like 2 right legs opposed to a right and a left, which I kind of worked around, but it did look strange. And the arms completely shattered because I ran out of mold cast stuff, so it completely shattered. So I had to settle for using some leftover latex I'd accidentally spilled on something, cut it in half, and sort of build up the shoulders and the fingers and the thumbs with hot glue. Let that dry, paint them all green, wait, glue them on with like an excess of hot glue because they did not want to go on. Paint overall with green paint again, make a really green boy. And then I decided to put like wood dowels in the back of the Goblin to sort of strengthen it a bit. 1/2 wood dowel across his shoulder blades to give him sort of keep him wide and rigid and stuff. And then the 1 wooden dowel up his spine. But I had to snip that in half because I wanted him to lay down in one seat, and that was keeping him way too straight. Then I glued eyebrows onto him out of black wool that I'd bought for hair, because I feel like he was... That's my dog. I feel like he was lacking sort of a humanistic sort of feel. He felt too scaly and reptilian. I wanted it to be sort of reptilian and gross, but sort of like human attributes, you know. So I gave him some eyebrows, and then I tied some string around his forearms, like some see-through stretchy string that I bought. Glued that around his forearms, painted it green. Boom. You couldn't really tell. I had to hot glue it on before painting it green, obviously, to keep it sort of secured. And he had kind of thicker forearms, but it worked remarkably well, didn't break once. Then you want to attach that string to a stick, glue it onto the stick like a wooden dowel. It's perfect for that, and you can sort of puppeteer its arms and stuff. Its arms might not be the most sort of malleable, fluid thing ever, but it's definitely better than nothing. That's kind of your whole bag. I also made various other props like glasses and costumes and hair in general for the Goblin. For the glasses for the Goblin, you will need hot glue gun, see-through string, wooden dowel, and black acrylic paint if you have it. For the glasses, I use a hot glue gun over like a plastic bag and just made like a glasses frame out of them. I took 2 wooden dowels, snapped small enough to fit around the Goblin's sort of ears over them, glued them together, put a piece of see-through string just on the back of that glued together, glued it all together. The string was there so it sort of keep it on its head without being visible, and I painted the entire thing black apart from the visible string. They turned out perfect. He looks like Buddy Holly. I also gave him a protagonist glasses so it could sort of sell the similarities between them. For the wigs, you will need a dense cloth-like material. Netting doesn't really work so well because it's not thick enough, so I would go definitely for like a dishcloth. They're also easy to find and cheaper. Something to make the hair out of fake wool, like wispy stuff works. You could probably use regular wool or something, but it'd be a hell of a lot harder because it's individual opposed to just like a massive chunk of hair. Scissors to cut the hair and style it the way you like. PVA glue and cling film. Cling film to put underneath the cloth and PVA glue to glue it down. Rubber bands to keep it all secure around the Goblin's head. The wig process making was dreadful because I bought like netting and wool and I tried to glue it together. It did not work at all, so I had to spend even more money because I found a good process which I googled, which was using dense cloths, just like a cloth you'd use to wash dishes, whatever, and rubber banding them over the doll's head or Goblin's head in my case, over a piece of cling film. Sorry, I should have mentioned that. Cling film as well. Is cling film over the Goblin's head, and then you put the dense cloth over it, rubber band that around, keep it firm, then take out the PVA glue, take a brush, glue that on, and then just glue the hair to it. I managed to buy some wool that was already sort of like unweaved, sort of torn apart, all wispy and fluffy. It was perfect. I couldn't recommend doing this enough compared to actual wool. It's just so much easier. Glue that on, style it the way you want it to, and then after leaving it to dry a while, cut around it so it just fits on the thing like a hairpiece. I had to paint one of my wigs green because the under cloth that I used was white and it was way too visible, so I painted it the same green as a Goblin. It took ages to dry. I don't know if it's dried now. And put it on the Goblin's head. Boom, you got a wig. I did the same process again, beat for beat, but with blonde wool now because I wanted brown wool, didn't have it, didn't want to use black twice, bought blonde because I thought it could look more similar to my actor's hair, and it did kind of look similar, but it looked more like Donald Trump. For the black hoodie for the Goblin, you will need hot glue, 2 pins, black felt, ideally 2 sheets of black felt just because I made mistakes and you might make mistakes, it's good to have a backup. For the Goblin's white t-shirt, you will need 2 sheets of white felt, backup again, hot glue, 2 pins. You will also need scissors for the Goblin's t-shirt and hoodie because you have to cut things out. I used the cling film method from before with the wigs, measured around my Goblin's torso proportions, outlined it in Sharpie, as you do, and then mirrored that onto a piece of felt, cut it out, did that twice, one for the front, one for the back. Realised that didn't work too well, so I just took the back piece, snipped a bit off it, and then put it over the shoulder blades and just the lower part, just the essential parts to keep it sort of snug but not completely cover it. How I secured it and made it so you could take it off was by the 2 pieces on the back, the shoulder blades and the hips, glue one side of the fabric down to the front piece and then take like a pin and pin to the other side. And then try and have it so one pin's on the right, one pin's on the left, just so it sort of keeps it secure. Then for the hood of the hoodie, I cut a piece of felt again, sort of made it hood in a bit, attached it to the shoulder piece, boom, straight on. Hot glue was probably the best thing to use for gluing it all together, just because it's like, you can kind of burn your fingers through it, so watch out for that, but it definitely made things easier and didn't have to wait as long and stuff, so definitely use hot glue. The sleeves were hard to do because you had to sort of eyeball them, so you have to cut holes where you think the arms are going to go in. I would do this by just sort of laying the piece on the Goblin's hands and then cutting where the hands are and then just sliding them on, cutting until it fits flush to the Goblin's torso, and then build up the thing with extra felt that you've cut off to the sides of sort of sleeves. You want to make sure the string goes through the sleeves when you put it on, so you can control the Goblin with the dowels and stuff, but that's hardly related. And make sure you glue that on. You might have to do a few pieces opposed to just the one, but that's the best way to do the sleeves, just sort of cut it out afterwards. I also glued some tiny little strings on the front of the hoodie, which you probably won't even pick up on in the film, but they're there. It adds to the character of the piece, and that was sort of that. The white t-shirt, I was sort of losing patience at this point with that, but I did use the exact same method. I cut around the front with a white felt, cut around the back with a white felt, did the shoulder blade thing, the technique, did the lower back hip place technique, pinned it on each side, made the sleeves the exact same way but shorter, which was much easier. I also had to glue little bits on the shoulders just because I cut it too short, but as long as you do it right, you won't need to do that. It's just me. And then I obviously cut a bit of a neck area out as well with some scissors. You will need scissors for this. Yeah, so that all went together well. Glued that puppy up, boom. He's got outfits, he's got wigs, he's got glasses. I also decided to use a wooden dowel set, a bunch of spares, to make some fake cigarettes because I wanted a human-sized one just like for me, because that's awesome. And then like a smaller one that would fit in the Goblin's mouth that had like already been lit, so I wanted to use that for when he turns into NCT, because I just thought that'd be like a funny idea. So yeah, worked out easy. Cut it up with some pliers, or not pliers, but like wire cutters, I guess. Paint it white, paint one end orange, paint one end like black if it's unlit, or like black with a ring of orange in the middle if it is lit. It's pretty easy to do. For the army helmet, you'll need green paint, a see-through bowl, sandpaper, and some elastic, or something you can secure it to your chin with, like string, for example. A plastic see-through bowl, which we sanded, me and my dad sanded, with sandpaper until all the bumps came off it. Spray painted it green, left it dry perfectly. Pretty good. Paint on the inside and outside if you can, just because you don't want the light going through it, it'll look weird. I also bought a prop gun, which is only small, only tiny, but that's the way I wanted it, to sort of Rambo it, so it would look sort of small compared to the hero. Spray paint that green as well. Ideally, you want to hang this from something so you can get full coverage around it with some like wire or something, but you can do it in 2 halves if I just didn't have the time. Then for the helmet, I bought some elastic from a shop, like a small piece. I think it was half a metre, I think, is the lowest they would give me. Did that around the head, super glued it in. Didn't last through production, so maybe screw it on or bolt it on or do something stronger with it, but it looked good anyway before I brought it to college or brought it to the production stage. For the toilet paper bag, what you'll need is roughly 48 squares of toilet paper, but probably more because it's quite weak stuff, and sellotape. That's it. This was for some goofy gag. I thought it was going to be stupid, and it was stupid, but it was also kind of fun. What I did for this awesome thing was get a roll of toilet paper, roll out like 4 pieces, I think it was, and then do that 3 times and tape them all together. Do the same thing again. So you've got 2 4x3 toilet paper square pieces. Then take a 3x2 square of toilet paper and make another one. Do 2 of them as well, and then you can put them on the sides. Then you want to make a 2x4 toilet paper strip. Put the 3x4s on the edges of the 2x4s on the longest edge. Put the 3x2s on the other edges, and you've got like a square. This will be a hard process. You want to sellotape the entire thing together. You will need sellotape and toilet paper. These are the only ingredients you need for this. It's not crazy. Tape the edges, boom, it's all there. And then you want to just maybe like, what I did was I think just like threaded a bunch of toilet paper together into like a strong rope. Glue that onto, stuck it onto each edge with sellotape and put it on my shoulder. It fit perfect. Bit sort of weak, so you might want to model it. Or if you don't want to model it, put wiring in it or something you won't see, and that'll keep it upright. For the cardboard box prop, you'll need a cardboard box, a black Sharpie, a green Sharpie, 2 sticky labels and box tape, and a regular pen just to draw on the sticky labels. This was from a cardboard box. I got it for free. I went looking around the shops for it. Found a free one. Bang on. Bought some box tape, and you will need box tape. Box tape the edges and all the logos on it to keep it, sort of original to me. And then I printed off this sort of design I liked for the box, which I'd used in a previous mock-up. Cut it out with scissors, and then taped that to the box, what was left, so the outside white paper. Drew inside of it with a Sharpie, a black one around the edges and the green one in the middle. Made sure to leave room for the eyes where I was going to have them in the piece, and drew around them in black. Just sort of eyeballed that. And yeah, put stickers on it saying Trauma Goblin Industries. They don't really pick up very well on the camera, but they are there. I've tried to make this as detailed as I can, but it's pretty rough. I'll try and edit this in a way that makes sense, but this is how you make your own Goblin. It seems a hell of a lot easier than it actually is. It'll take a lot of time and a lot of resources. I must have spent like 100 and something, maybe even like 200 on all this stuff alone, which is absurd, but latex be expensive, you know what I'm saying? So it worked out in the end. I'm very happy with the Goblin, and I'll probably keep him forever. So yeah, thank you for watching. Go make your own Goblin, or don't. Probably don't. It's kind of my thing. Don't steal it. Okay. Thank you for watching. Bye.